What if I told you one of the strangest things that ever happened to me when I worked in the video game industry involved a trash can? It was kind of like spotting a cryptid in the wild. It was a situation that the next day I couldn't believe actually happened because it was so strange. I started in the game industry 20 years ago today. What's going on, everyone? I'm Jay. Welcome to Square Pegs. Glad you guys are here. I want to talk to you a little bit about that time because, yeah, March 10th, 2003 was my first day on the job at Electronic Arts Tiburon, and as much as I would love to tell you about that, it's not really all that interesting. So instead, I would like to tell you about the trash can incident. I was working on Fight Night Round 2. I was the Nintendo GameCube quality assurance lead, which means I was kind of responsible for making sure that everything got tested, that everything was signed off, that we were up to compliance with Nintendo, and that everything was good to go. And it was great because, well, it was a GameCube, so we didn't have online, we didn't have to worry about anything like that. And the gameplay in the game was fantastic. It was solid. We had a spectacular team up at EA Chicago that did amazing work on the game, and it was just cool. Like, it was just a really fun project to work on. We had Super Punch-Out on the disc, which was really neat. It was something that I look back at it fondly because it was the first time I had ever led a project, first time my friend Jason had ever led a project. He was the Xbox lead, and we kind of kicked ass. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. It was a great experience. And I would love to tell you that that's the entire story, but I did call this the trash can incident, not the smooth sailing submission incident, because no one cares about that. There was always cases of tomfoolery happening. It was a building full of, at peak, about 300 people, the vast majority of which were males ages 18 to 25. And there was a lot of idiocy that happened just by nature. I mean, there was a guy who decided that it was cool to get tased out in the parking lot. There was our security guard who claimed that he was able to pick up the Cincinnati Reds broadcasts and listen to them in Orlando, Florida on his FM radio. He was a tinfoil hat away from believing the aliens were about to pick him up. And there was just all kinds of stuff that happened every day that was just weird, bizarre, strange. We once had our power taken out by a frog. We were in the middle of a lightning storm, which was, I mean, it's Florida, it happens. They were going through submission, and as they were doing their 100-hour clock, which is something that we did for every game submission, we did 100 man-hours on a build to make sure it was good to go. We had a frog jump into our breaker box, blew out power for the entire building. So yeah, active frog kept us from submitting, but the trash can incident itself. So it was late. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning. We were getting to the point where we were getting ready to submit the game, probably about 2 weeks out. We had just gone beta. And we were just doing our normal testing. Now, it wasn't unusual to hear strange things at the building because, again, 300 people, most of them males, all of them 18 to 25, all of them idiots, myself included. And it was that night that we all of a sudden heard a clatter, if you will. There arose such a clatter from the other side of the building, but for reference, the way that the building was laid out, it was basically a huge oval. It was basically a racetrack. Where we had bays all the way around, and there were a couple of hallways that cut up through the middle so you could get to the other side of the building quicker, but for the most part, yeah, it was a series of bays in an oval, and we all surrounded. We were in I want to say the northwest corner is where the Fight Night team was located. It wasn't unusual to hear, right? We often heard weird sounds, we often heard weird noises, and we just didn't really think of anything of it. And then all of a sudden, there was some shouting, and shouting, again, not unusual, we didn't really think anything of it, but the shouting kept continuing to increase, and it kept getting a little bit more, I don't want to say aggressive, because I don't want it to be perceived as an aggression or anything like that. This was two people that were having a heated disagreement about nothing of consequence whatsoever. It just happened to be at 3 o'clock in the morning. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting there and playing on the GameCube, working on Super Punch-Out, making sure that we're able to beat it. And I see, I'm going to change names to protect the innocent here. I see Steve just flying by full tilt, fast as he can, goes running through the building. And I'm like, what the f*** is happening here? And then about 5 seconds later, my manager comes chasing after him around the corner. And he goes after Steve. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Probably about 30 seconds later, here comes Steve again, running around the corner. My manager's now closer, maybe couple seconds behind him, and I go running again, and this goes on like 4 or 5 times, and it's like, what is happening here? What is going on? This has gone from this is weird to this is hilarious, because this is like a Looney Tunes thing. The last lap, Steve runs by, and we had these huge, just like industrial garbage cans, because again, 300 people, you need a place to throw away the snacks, and he runs by and grabs the garbage can with his hand and pulls it behind him. It was action movie stuff, guys. And the garbage can falls, and here comes my manager, and my manager leaps it like he's one of the Dukes of Hazzard going across the hood. Hurdles this garbage can without missing a beat and tackles him. That was the end of it, right? That was it. They started laughing. It was silly. It was funny. Everyone had a good time. We all thought it was hilarious. And we never thought we'd hear about it again until the following Monday. Should point out this happened on a Friday. Management wasn't typically there on the weekends, as you can probably imagine. On Monday, we got an email from our department director asking if anyone knew about the trash can incident. There's one simple truth in video game quality assurance. It's that you shut up. You don't fess up to anything. You don't say a word, and none of us did. We didn't say a thing, because the miracle of 2003 security technology is that you couldn't really tell who was running. You could just see that people were running, and eventually the security camera footage gets sent around, and we all had a good laugh at it, and then we were told under no uncertain circumstances that it needed to be deleted. Yeah, the trash can incident, where we all got taken to task by our department manager because we wouldn't rat out the people who conducted in the idiocy. I will have more stories like this. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. It's a silly tale, it's a silly situation, but it was something that has stuck with me from my time in the industry. Now, there were all kinds of things that stuck with me. There were the hard games to complete. There were producers that I couldn't stand. But for the most part, the memories are really good. Next time, I will be telling you guys about the Twizzler Gauntlet, which I guarantee you can't possibly imagine what that's about. And before you say anything, yeah, it was absolutely a frat house atmosphere. It was basically Animal House. We got away with murder. We got away with absolute ridiculous behavior that I look at now as someone who's turning 44 in 2 days. Yeah, I can't believe that we did that, and I'm horrified to think that my son is 9 years away from when I started in that industry. But at the same time, I also treasure it, right? Because those were bonds that were made that are lifetime bonds. I'm still friends with people from that team. I still talk to people regularly. And without that job, without something like the trash can incident, I wouldn't have the career I have now. I don't work in games anymore. I like games a lot more now than when I worked on them. But it's nice to be able to look back at that time fondly and realize how ridiculous it was and how perfect a storm it was of just insanity and crazy behavior and just foolhardy circumstances that makes me appreciate the calm nature of what I do now. And it makes me realize that despite that insanity, we made some pretty cool stuff. If you enjoy this story, stick around. I'm going to be doing these a little bit more often as I'm getting more comfortable talking about my time in the industry. If you enjoyed this story, consider hitting that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. And hit the like button if you did enjoy it, because there will be more stories like this in the future. If you want to hear more stories like this and you are in the Milwaukee area, I have got a panel on Saturday at noon at the Midwest Gaming Classic and telling my tales of being an industry nobody. Until next time, folks, I've been Jay. Remember to play more games, stay square, and take care. I'll talk to you soon. And watch out for trash cans.